This is Twit.
You know, the criminals out there are of a sort that they're not likely to let any opportunity to launch new attacks go unexplored. And tax day in the U.S. is no exception. Well, for most Americans, you know, tax day is a red flag deadline on the calendar. This year, it happens this coming Monday on April 15th. For cyber criminals, it's one day out of a season marked with scams to deceive victims out of money and personal data. Now, seasonal threats are absolutely common among cyber criminals. They will exploit holidays, news, global events, sporting events, you name it, in order to take advantage of times when people have let down their guard. Now, one of the biggest lures is tax season in the U.S. because it starts in January and it really continues through May or June. And it deals with two things criminals love to capitalize on. One is money, and the other is fear. Tax fraud is an old problem manifesting in new ways as more people file taxes online. And it should be noted that the IRS expects more than 90% of tax returns will be prepared electronically using tax return software this year. So IBM X-Force, their researchers recently discovered several of these ongoing tax theme campaigns, three of which affect businesses as well as consumers. Attackers will attempt, to trick victims with messages appearing to be from major accounting, tax, and payroll services like ADP and Paychex. Malicious Microsoft Excel attachments will pack TrickBot, which is a common banking Trojan that infects devices and steals data, and follows up with the glorious opportunity for wire fraud from the owner's account. Now, these frauds take place against both consumers and businesses. This isn't just something that we can smirk about the stupid consumer being involved with. These scams are often very skillfully done, involving spear phishing with a lot of very accurate data thrown in to pack around the malicious payload, and they cause enormous problems. You know, all the attackers really need is one person on a company staff to believe a fake email, and they're in. Once they have a toehold on a single machine, they spread laterally. And, well, from the attacker's point of view, the sky's the limit. So what's the point of all this? What's the state of the art? Taxpayers filing via mobile app should be especially alert for fraudulent activity this year. Now, while most apps for tax filings are secure and don't store data on the device, fake mobile apps often impersonate popular tax filing services to get people to give up sensitive data. Now, while most of these are going to be on third-party stores that are known to be less secure, a few have also been seen on official Google and Apple app stores. There are ways to spot these fake apps, researchers point out, and they used a fake H&R Block app as an example. For starters, there will be no developer listed. That's a huge red flag. They'll also require more permissions than necessary. If a tax filing app asks to use your microphone, your camera, wants to use a cloud service you've never heard of, these are all huge red flags. So what do we do about it? That's the real question. We've seen the evolution in tax fraud because there are now lower prices for identity theft on the dark web. Basic information on consumers has become commoditized, and of course, as we know, commodity prices tend to drop. What the criminals are looking for now are new products so that they can do things like get home equity loans in the victim's name, get more credit cards in the victim's name, and do other much more serious bits of financial fraud, all in the victim's name. So I want to turn to my co-host, and Lou, to you first. You know, you are part of a large team. You see people. So how often do people that you see on a regular basis talk about the attacks, the security issues that come up around things like the Olympics, the NCAA Final Four, the Super Bowl, and other major events? Is it something they seem to be aware of, or do you think it would surprise a lot of them to hear that this is a thing?
Yeah, it's interesting that you asked that, because I think there are a lot of organizations that seem to overlook the fact that, you know, during these big events, there's a lot of information flowing, a lot of information asks. And so we have to be more aware, more cognizant of that. Most of the people I do talk to, people I know that work at Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, they are aware that big events like this does cause issues, because people are starting to target specific systems, things that are more, like you were talking about, things that are more recognizable, replacing them with lookalikes, and then attempting to do phishing and so on and so forth. So tax season is definitely also on that list of events that people target. So I would say a lot of organizations in the industry are aware of this. One, because they watched a lot of the traffic that comes through, and they notice, hey, a lot of it is fraudulent activity. But there are a lot of organizations that don't. So these are actually great ways to make them aware and to bring information to them. So yeah, this is great.
Well, I'm going to come back to you because you are involved in business applications. Now, I had my first email account that would go to more than a single closed network in the mid-'80s. So we've been dealing with this kind of thing for coming up on 40 years. Why are we still in a point where email is viable as an attack vector? Isn't this the sort of thing that we should have an absolutely airtight technological fix for by this point?
Yeah, I mean, email is one of those fickle things, because it's written, right? And so people can find ways to, social engineer you to actually track things and do things that you would not normally do. Perfect examples are, a lot of these scams around helping you fix your PC. I see a lot of people, young and old, get kind of caught into these things. They get caught into the moment of, oh my gosh, like my machine's under trouble. I paid thousands of dollars for it. Let me go and do something to fix it. So like, is there fixes for social engineering? I would say, over time, people get smart and they're educated and they work through it. There are services, applications, and integrations that do help with this. But they can never help with everything. I mean, phishing attacks alone, if you get an email from somebody, whether it's an external email or even an internal email, you have to be smart enough to know, hey, maybe I shouldn't click on this link, or maybe I shouldn't, maybe I should be aware that, this person would never ask me that. I don't know. Is there a solution for this entirely and going in the future? Probably not. I mean, they will always find ways to socially engineer and work past it. So again, it's more education than anything.
Well, this is one of those things, as with pretty much the changing of the seasons, we know that tax is going to roll around every year. So it's unlikely that we're going to see an endpoint solution anytime soon. Stay tuned. I have a feeling we're going to have lots to talk about on this in years to come. And hey, everyone, be careful out there.